welcome to another jewelry making video brought to you by KeepsakeCrafts.net. Today we're going to be making this pretty pair of crystal heart earrings. I will show you not only how to do the wire wrapping, which is fun messy wraps, but I'll show you how easy it is to make your own ear wires. So the main thing that you will need to make these earrings are these crystal hearts. These are Swarovski Crystal's Wild Heart shape. They're 17 millimeters, and this is the color Astral Pink. They look orange, but if you tilt them, you can see pink flashes. And in addition, you'll need some wire for wrapping. This is 20 gauge for the ear wires, and 22 gauge is what we'll use for our wrapping. And then for tools, you'll need a chasing hammer and a bench block, wire cutters, bail making pliers. These have a 10, 7, and 5 millimeter mandrels, round nose pliers, chain nose pliers, and a file. So the first thing you need to do is to cut a 12-inch piece of the finer gauge wire. And then we're going to just go ahead and center the heart, one of the crystal hearts, on that wire. And then go ahead and send one of the ends of the wire back through the hole. Now, depending on how fine a gauge you use, you might be able to fit the wire through 3 times. This is 22 gauge. If I'd used 24, I could probably do it 3, but I'm finding only 2 will fit. And be kind of careful. This is crystal. It can crack. It's not real thin up here like on some of your smaller hearts, but you just want to snug that wire loop. And that'll be fine around that heart. Then bring the 2 wires up so that they meet above the heart. And then use chain nose pliers to give them a bend right at the top of the heart. Then grasp those wires with your round nose pliers, grasp both of them, and just make a simple loop. And then bend that around so it's at a 90-degree angle. Use your round nose pliers to bend it back. Hold on to that loop with chain nose pliers and hold on to the wire ends. Well, I'm going to do the first wraps with just my fingers. We just hold these 2 wires until it gets difficult to hold on to them, and then go ahead and use another pair of chain nose pliers to hold them. As you do just a whole series of messy wraps above the heart. Now I'm doing this with jeweler's brass non-tarnish wire, but this would look terrific in a wire that tarnishes, and then you can patina it with liver of sulfur and then polish up the high points. So once you're done with your wraps, just trim off the excess, and I'm going to straighten out my loops, which got a little bit mangled. And then feel for any ends that need to be tucked in. You can tuck them in with chain nose pliers, and also use a file if there's a sharp end sticking out. You can use a file to file that down. And that's it. And here's the other one. And then the next step is just to make our ear wires. You're going to cut a 2-inch piece of the 20 gauge wire. And you can use a file, or you can use one of these little tools. It's called a cup burr. And inside that cup are little diamond chips that will round over and file down the end of the wire. This is especially important when making ear wires, as you're passing that end through your earlobe, and you don't want anything sharp. So once you have those ends smooth, go ahead and grasp one end of the wire with your round nose pliers and just make a loop until it touches itself, just like that. Now I've already done this on the other wire because the best way to make a pair of matching ear wires is to actually make them at the same time. So I'm going to put these loops right over the 7mm part of my bail making pliers, the 7mm section, and then just wrap that wire around just till it almost meets itself again, like that. And then you can kink it open. And I like to take chain nose pliers, and I usually just use the widest part of my plier as a measure to bend that back a little. And then if you need to straighten out your loop, so that it's all on one plane. And then the final step to make sure that your ear wires hold their shape is to put them on a bench block and give this top part a little bit of a hammer. You can hammer the whole thing if you want, but just doing this top part gives it a nice look and also work hardens it and ensures that it will keep its shape. And then the final step is to use chain nose pliers to twist that loop open. Insert one of your wire wrapped hearts and twist that loop closed. And it's really that simple. So here's another look at the heart earrings we made today. I hope that you've enjoyed this project and that you'll give some messy wraps a try. They're kind of fun and they have a great look. Thank you so much for watching Keepsake Crafts videos. Please be sure to check out my blog, keepsakecrafts.net, where I have lots more sewing and crafting ideas and inspiration. Also, if you like this video, click subscribe so that you subscribe to this channel and don't miss a thing. Click the like button and be sure to check out the 2 videos that I have up on the screen. You might enjoy making those as well. Thanks again for watching. Happy creating. Bye-bye.